Okay, hello everyone. Because it is already 25 past 3 o'clock, I will start this session now. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya. Greetings to all of us. To our honorable speaker for ALSA Law Unplugged Vol.2 movie discussion, Mbak Tiza Mafira, SH LL.M. To our moderator for today, Anabel M.A Manullang. To the board of director and staff of ALSA LCUGM. And to all of our honorable participants of the movie discussion of ALSA Law Unplugged Vol.2. Let us praise our thanks to God Almighty because it is because of His grace and we are able to gather today to discuss the movie The Story of Plastic. My name is Faiko Nabila and I will be the master of ceremony of this session. First of all, please let me read the rundown of our series of today's events that includes the opening, which is currently ongoing, opening remarks by the project officer, opening remarks by the director of ALSA LCUGM, art exhibition video, and then discussion that will be led by the moderator, followed by a Q&A session. Participants who have joined via Zoom may ask questions through the Q&A features, and participants who have joined via YouTube may ask questions via comment box. And finally, the giving of placards and closings. Okay, our next session will be the opening remarks by our Law Unplugged Vol.2 project officer, to Rahmat Akbar Berliano. The time is yours.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, Rabel.
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya. Greeting to all of us. To our honorable speaker for movie discussions, Mbak Tiza Mafira. To our moderator for today, Anabel M.A Manullang. To the board of directors, local boards and staffs of ALSA Local Chapter UGM, and to all of the committees that had been successfully holding this event. And to all of our honorable participants of movie discussions of ALSA Law Unplugged Vol.2. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to you all and welcome to ALSA Law Unplugged Vol.2 2020. Law Unplugged is an event organized by English Development Divisions, which is a forum for legal educations to the society in a more flexible, fun, and innovative way, which is with a platform of art. So in this event, there's a combination of law and arts, and we hopefully will bring up the fresh ideas for educating, raising awareness, aspiration forum, and to develop art skills. The theme raised in the Law Unplugged Vol.2 is environmental heroes, where the substance of the event will be more on environmental issues and environmental law, especially in Indonesia. There are 4 agendas for this event, which are art competitions, art exhibitions, legal English discussions, and movie sessions. We are currently on the agenda for a movie sessions, where we will discuss further about the film that we have watched together, Story of Plastics. In these discussions, we were also attended by Tiza Mafira, who is one of the contributors to the film. We hope that with her presence, we will both get enlightened and there will be an active discussions so that in the end of the day, we can achieve our goals of this event. Maybe that's all I can say for these opening remarks. I'm sorry if I made a mistakes. I hope all of you can enjoy the moment and can enjoy these discussions. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Santi 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 Om, Namo Buddhaya. Thank you, Faiko.
Okay, thank you, Rabel, for giving the speech. Next is the opening remarks by the director of ALSA LCUGM, to Gaudi Demisha Averdi. The floor is yours.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya. To our distinguished and honorable speaker, Mbak Tiza Mafira, SH LL.M, Anabel M.A Manullang, a student at Faculty of Law, Universitas Gadjah, Mada, as our moderator today, Rahmat Ulurah, or I would like to call him Rabel, as the project officer of Law Unplugged Vol.2, the Committee of Law Unplugged, the local boards of English development, and fellow participants. Firstly, I would like to express my gratitude to God for the grace and mercy that has been given to us, which led us being where we are at the moment. I would also like to give my utmost gratitude to the Committee of Law Unplugged Vol.2. Had it not been their dedication and commitment, none of this could ever be realized. So as Rabel said before, Law Unplugged is an event which serves as a media in giving legal education to the society by using art, mostly. And one of the events within Law Unplugged is movie session, in which we are having right now, that this year goes by the moniker of movie session, The Story of Plastic. So we will be discussing about the public awareness of the dangers of plastic waste and to try persuading the society to stop using plastic. I've watched a documentary in which Tiza Mafira herself starred in, The Story of Plastic, and I remember her saying that at least we can turn off the tap, right? So I think this refers to us to stop using plastic products from companies that are poisoning us, and where we could use alternative measures and methods to support our daily life needs. That way, we can try to slowly reducing the poison that this material has been causing us effectively, I think, for the past 10 to 15 years. And in addition, ALSA LUGM itself has signed a commitment along with 13 other local chapters from universities in Indonesia to reduce using plastics in our event, in which we do take this issue seriously, and we will use our resources to make the society realize the problem all of us has been having. We hope that this topic could help us discover undiscovered facts and knowledge, such as the explanation on the real problems that has to be dealt with in order to promote this global scale issue and come together to a certain view on what has to be done as a human being. To conclude, thank you for your attention and participation. I hope that all of you will enjoy this program. Stay safe and stay healthy. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom. Om Santi 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 Om. Namo Buddhaya. Align for excellence. ALSA, always be one.
Okay, thank you, Gaudi, for the opening remarks. All right, we will now commence to the core of today's event. Before that, I would like to inform you all to the participants in this Zoom meeting are required to fill the attendance form that will be sent at the end of the meeting at our data to send e-certificates and PowerPoint materials. Okay, we will be now watch a short video for the art exhibition session. The short video is a tribute for our Earth, and it tells about how important it is to protect the Earth through reducing waste, especially plastic. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy your time.
Earth is our home, but for some Earth is our home, but for some people, they just don't love our home. Maybe we harm, we destroy, we litter the environment. Nonetheless, we still can find some people who want to contribute more to the sustainability of this planet. So here we present to you the creatives, effortful, and brave people who have contributed themselves to set the example for us.
Hey guys, my name is Lisa Gita. I'm 19 years old and I'm the founder of Ukir Sagara.
Nama saya Mada. Pekerjaan saya sehari-hari angkut sampah di di lingkungan.
Halo, nama aku Buki. Aku punya toko ranah bumi di Prawira Taman Yogyakarta. I started a new online shop named Yogyakarta that is available on Tokopedia and Instagram with my friend Michelle. We sell eco-friendly products and we promote and also support the eco-friendly lifestyle, zero waste lifestyle, and sustainable living.
Pekerjaan saya sehari-hari angkut sampah di lingkungan. Nanti rosok sendiri, plastik sendiri, nanti dijual. Terus sampah yang basah-basah dibuang. Kalau rosok-rosok dan agak kardus aqua itu dipilih kan menghasilkan uang toh Mbak. Disitulah hasilnya usaha sampah.
I make a journal so I can learn from my purpose, from my progress and mistakes. And then the next purpose is to respect and protect the earth. We reduce in ranah bumi. We reduce paper use by using cloth napkins, and making two-sided copies, and bringing reusable shopping bags to store. And then protect and conserve precious water with low flow faucets and toilets and showers, and make like edible plants gardening like that. And in our store we don't have aircon, and we only use the bukaan gitu ya, ya supaya udara bisa lancar gitu. I started this online shop because I love nature, and people are destroying their own home, which is our Mother Earth, and I thought that I have to do something to save my home.
Dari kecil saya juga ikut sampah dari bapak toh, terus nerusin kerjaan bapak sampai lulus SMA lah.
I learned the new terms of sustainable architecture and civilization architecture, and basically we all are connected to the nature, right? So yeah, we just don't know the terms. I didn't know the terms and the knowledge before, and then it comes like a big question, like what kind of civilization am I living at? So based on the research, I went to certain places and met certain people who already walking the sustainable lifestyle like that. And then from there I knew exactly what I want. I want to live a balanced, prosperous life, harmonious life, holistically and sustainably, and that's what I kept in mind until now, until the store opened. Because I think modern people like an instant and simple life, which then lead to an industrialization and also technology development, and then produce much waste, which are harmful for our environment and our planet.
Itu Mbak, di situ sampah overload dan tampungan di pusat tuh banyak yang nanti tau Mbak itu, tapi terus penuh, jadi kendalanya di situ. Kadang-kadang mobil mogok, kadang-kadang ya karyawan sih ada yang sakit, terus Mbak, jadi sampah sering numpuk di rumah, sama kalau pengambilannya kurang sempurna, jadi pelanggan-pelanggan banyak yang nanyain.
The disconnecting from the nature. People already disconnecting from the nature, so they didn't know what to do to the nature. Maybe they harm the environment, they harm themselves, Yeah, the root problem is they disconnected.
I think people can contribute to the environment by doing small acts or small things, such as changing their daily habits and their lifestyle. For example, using eco-friendly products like bamboo straw, reusable menstrual pad, and reusable cotton pads, and also reduce plastic wastes and other waste, and send your waste to the waste management company.
Yeah, first thing first is you love yourself and then love the planet. Because when you love yourself, yeah, you can love the planet. What is as above, so below, as outside, so inside, right? So that's the first thing you have to do. And then, of course, you need to know the refuse, reduce, reuse, recycle, yeah, like that.
Ya, kalau menurut pribadi saya, orang yang ikut berkontribusi dalam lingkungan sih ikut turun ke lapangan toh Mbak, kerja yang nyata dan kok biar mencapai tujuan tersebut ya Mbak. Dan kalau udah turun ke lapangan dan terjun sama-sama itu hasilnya kan mencapai tujuan dan tujuan yang direncanakan itu lebih bagus dari tersebut. Dan terpenting tuh menjaga kebersihan biar lingkungannya tetap bersih dan orangnya di lingkungan melihat lingkungannya tuh indah.
Listen to them. Listen to their messages. While doing their job, they are also hoping deep inside their heart for the best situations for our environment. They are environmental heroes. They are the proof that in the middle of these uncertain situations, we still have the hopes. Together, let us take care of our earth.
Okay, it is such a creative and informative video. From here, it turns out that there are still many people who cares about the earth and have moved their body, minds, and soul to protect the earth. And so will you. Okay, now we will go to the next session, the movie discussion. Before we begin again, I will now introduce our moderator for today, Anabel Manullang. Kak Anabel is a student at Faculty of Law in UGM, and she is also a member of the legal division at Bye Bye Plastic Yogyakarta, and was the head delegate for Pra Musyawarah Nasional and ALSA Leadership Training 27 2020. She currently serves as the 2020 Secretary of PMK FH and has also won the third place in MCC Internal pada FH in 2019 and the second place in plasma research at Majaya Jakarta in 2017. Therefore, let us begin. Welcome, Anabel. The floor is yours.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, committee, for the time and opportunity. Hello, and welcome to this movie session, The Story of Plastic, ALSA Law Unplugged Vol.2. My name is Anabel Manullang, and I will be the moderator for today's session. On this event, we have Mbak Tiza Mafira, an environmental law activist and a contributor to The Story of Plastic movie. I see that many participants tuning in both Zoom webinar and YouTube, and I'm excited to bring this discussion to you. We'll be having about 45 minutes discussion with Mbak Tiza, and we'll leave the last 15 minutes for Q&A, so feel free to type those into the Q&A section. So without any further ado, I would love to introduce our keynote speaker. Tiza Mafira is a law and public policy expert specializing in environmental law, waste management, and climate change policy. She holds a Master of Laws from Harvard Law School and a Bachelor of Laws from Universitas Indonesia. Since 2013, she is a co-founder and executive director of the Indonesia Plastic Bag Diet Movement, or Gerakan Indonesia Diet Kantong Plastik, which pushes for less use of plastic bags in Indonesia through regulation and awareness. 2 years ago, she received mention as a UN Ocean Hero by United Nations Environment for her work in successfully advocating for plastic bag bans in a number of cities across Indonesia. In 2019, the organization received the Mental Revolution Award from the government of Indonesia, and she is one of the activists featured in the global documentary released in 2019, which we just watched before, The Story of Plastic. Tiza also leads Climate Policy Initiative Indonesia, a non-profit think tank and advisory organization focused on public policy related to land use and energy transitions. Prior to this, she worked for 6 years as a corporate attorney in Jakarta-based law firm LL.M and Tyra. Wow, such an inspiring profile of Tiza. And yeah, we have Tiza here with us now, and I'm sure that everyone here can wait to discuss about this movie. So Tiza, in the next agenda, maybe you can share to us more about your job and what you do on a daily basis. Tiza, the time is yours.
Thank you, Anabel, and thank you for ALSA for inviting me to this event. I was also quite active in ALSA when I was a law student, and so I'm very happy to see that ALSA continues to grow and continues to keep itself busy with very productive, very interesting events. So I'm happy that everybody got a chance to see the movie, and I'm hoping that if you have thoughts about the movie, how it made you feel, what you think was the main message, because there's a lot of messages in the movie, what you thought resonated most with you. Can I ask everyone to please write it down in the chat box? I'd like to see some of the comments as I move through my presentation today. So go ahead and start writing in the chat box. I'll start my presentation and then I'll have a look sometime in the middle. Okay, so let me share my screen. And in the movie, you see the plastic pollution from a global scale, and then it goes into each continent, it goes into different countries, it goes into different communities. But today, I'll be explaining more about what happens here in our country, in Indonesia, and how we've channeled some of the, the frustration that we felt for several years into real change on the ground. And if I could summarize the past 8 years that we've been fighting for change, I would summarize it into 3 milestones. This is very simplistic. It's very hard to summarize 8 years, but I'll try my best. So we established the plastic bag diet movement in 2013. And at first, we were focused on education. We were focused on social awareness. We were focused on our own community. It was, we were, a bunch of 20-somethings. So we would go around doing campaigns to some schools, some universities. And one of, some of these were quite fun events. This is one it's quite recent actually, but it's something that we've been doing for years. This is one where we managed to get Dian Sastro to join us in a plastic bag robbery campaign in Bundaran HI. But we quickly realized that social awareness campaigns alone were not enough, because we wanted to create massive scale changes. We wanted to create changes that could be felt across the nation. And for that, I thought, because I'm a law student, the only way that we could do that is by changing policy. Once there's a policy in place, then 1 million to 100 million to 200 million, depending on the scale of the policy, would immediately follow suit. So that's when we decided to focus on policy. But since we weren't lawmakers, we weren't in charge of actually making laws. We had to go do it in a strategic way. So the first thing we did is we petitioned for a plastic bag charge. So this was in 2014. We petitioned for a plastic bag charge to be implemented by retail stores. And because of the amount of signatures that we received, 70,000 signatures, we felt confident enough to actually officially give this petition to the Ministry of Environment and Forestry. Now, this wasn't easy to collect 70,000 signatures, and it also was a strategic decision to focus on plastic bag charges instead of bans. Remember, this is 2013, 2014. People weren't really aware of the plastic problem at the time. So if we had focused on bans immediately, it would have been a high call that would have been would have seemed ridiculous to a few people. It would have been, there would have been a lot of backlash from the retailers. They would have said no from the outset. But because we focused on a soft approach of plastic bag charge, saying that this is actually beneficial for you guys, for the supermarkets, because then you don't have to subsidize these plastics, then we managed to get quite a lot of support. And when we did provide it to the Ministry of Environment, they said, this is a great idea. And less than 3 months after we gave it to them, they enacted this plastic bag charge trial in 27 cities across Indonesia. At the time, it was 200 rupiah. There were a lot of criticisms that it was too cheap, but we didn't care. This was the first big nationwide semi-policy around plastic bags. So immediately, even if it was just 200 rupiah, immediately all of the media channels were talking about it. Immediately, everyone was asking, why is there a problem with plastic bags? And all these stories about how plastic bags were choking up the ocean and choking up the waterways and killing, whales and dolphins and turtles were beginning to enter into mainstream media and into mainstream thought. So after that, there were two things that happened. First of all, Banjarmasin immediately enacted this ban on plastic bags. So the trial was 3 months. At the end of 3 months, Banjarmasin said, we're going to ban plastic bags. They created this law, and they became the first city in Indonesia to do so. The second thing that happened was that the Ministry of Finance thought, actually, it's quite a good idea to tax plastic bags. And they started talking about a plastic tax. That took a while longer, and today it's being discussed in the parliament. And so we got this ball moving, right? But we also, it didn't stop there because there was so much to do. We had to continue to support the Ministry of Environment to monitor and evaluate how the plastic bag charge was doing. And then we had to continuously provide support to cities, kabupaten, kota, provinces that were thinking about banning plastic bags to follow Banjarmasin. And we also had to promote Banjarmasin as this, as this champion that should be followed by everyone else. This was not easy to do because Banjarmasin is a small city. And unless you're a big city here in Indonesia, people don't really hear about you. So there was a lot that we did. We had to take them to, the climate change conference in Germany. We had to put them on social media a lot. We had to get 24 other cities to come to Banjarmasin. We actually held an event in Banjarmasin so that they could see for themselves how it's actually working and there's no problem. It's no big deal. People aren't upset or anything. And so what we did, this was the first milestone, right? The first milestone was that we managed to get this plastic bag charge trial enacted. The second milestone is that we managed to create an ecosystem that would support a life without plastic bags. The thinking behind this is that when we talked to governments, when we started talking to governments and policymakers, their main thought was, we like this idea, but are people ready for it? Are businesses ready for it? Are supermarkets ready? Are traditional markets ready? So we had to show them that they're ready, which is not easy because whenever we talk to supermarkets, they say, sure, we'll do it, but if there's a law. And whenever we talk to lawmakers, they say, sure, we'll do it, but when the people are ready. And whenever we talk to people, they say, sure, we'll do it, but the supermarkets always keep giving me plastic bags. So, nobody really wants to start first. So we have to kind of work behind the scenes to make it seem as if people are moving simultaneously. And the way we did that was that we had to simultaneously target the people and the businesses in order to make this happen. So number one, what are the supermarkets, right? It's quite relatively easy to, relative compared to traditional markets, to target supermarkets, because you target one brand, you immediately get 100 retailers. Or 1,000, stores across the country. So we had these collaborations with specific supermarket brands to make sure that they're training their cashiers to say the right thing to customers. Training the cashiers are like the most important part of any campaign, because they are the ones telling the consumers, do you need a plastic bag for this small chocolate bar that you are buying? That needed training, and that training was possible because of the collaboration that we had with supermarkets. And then we went to traditional markets. We have this program in Jakarta that's called the first plastic-free traditional market in Jakarta. And this was way more difficult than supermarkets because these are vendors, single vendors in a big market. So you target one vendor, it doesn't mean that the vendor next to it will follow. So we had to go from door to door to door to door, educating these vendors and saying, look, Jakarta is going to be banning plastic bags starting in 6 months. Are you ready for it? We can make you ready for this by following these steps. So that was one aspect of us targeting traditional markets. And then we had this big launch with the mayor came and the market authority came, and we showed to the media at that time that it is possible for traditional markets to move away from plastic bags. And then there was this other thing, which we're now also in the middle of, this problem of online shopping. At the time, we targeted Gadjah and we targeted Grab because, and it took a while because it took us about 2 years to get results. But the first time we came to them, we said, can you simply not give cutleries? Or can you make it an option that if somebody needs cutleries, they have to buy cutleries, and we showed them how this was already done in other countries. This was done by Deliveroo. This was done by Food Panda. It's just one button, right? But apparently it wasn't just one button because all these competitors were trying to get this one button in, and they had to work pretty hard to convince their bosses that this was a good idea. So in the end, it took 2 years, but it finally happened. So Gadjah and Grab, this is the left and the right that you see on the screen. They now mostly have a button which says, if you need your cutleries, you need to buy it. And after this button was introduced, the number of people who opted to buy cutleries was only 1% of total orders. So all this time, there were 99% of cutleries, plastic cutleries, that were delivered to customers that never needed it in the first place. So that's kind of a mind-boggling data. So this was delivery models. And then of course, the question after all this was, if we don't use plastic bags, then what is the alternative? So we thought, okay, now we have to create this ecosystem where alternatives are easily available, easily accessible. And we turned to local wisdom, because in Banjarmasin, when they banned plastic bags, people started using these woven baskets again. In Bali, when they banned plastic bags, Bali immediately started going back to these traditional woven baskets, besek, janur, which was beautiful and created by local artisans and uses local materials. It was really such a winner compared to single-use plastic, which is an imported material anyways, and pollutes the environment. So we had this collaboration with Du Anyam, who is a startup that focuses on women's empowerment as well as weavers, traditional weaving techniques. And we created a campaign around how local wisdom is the best way to fight single-use plastic. So we try to, target all these different players, modern players, traditional market players, online players, as well as the alternative of traditional baskets to become available. So it would seem as if all these chess pieces were ready. We're ready to move once a law was enacted. And we were able to show to city governments and provincial governments that, look, these players have moved. This is a clear sign that people are ready, that businesses are ready. All you need to do is sign the law. So I think that's what happened. So that takes me to the third milestone, which is what we did was support regional government policies. Every step of the way, we did everything we could to support regional governments who are either interested or who are either planning on enacting a law. Bali, not long after they enacted their ban on plastic bags and styrofoam and straws, they were hit by a lawsuit from ADUPI, Asosiasi Daur Ulang Indonesia. And the lawsuit was a judicial review to the Supreme Court, claiming that that governor's regulation was not in line with higher laws, was not in line with Undang-Undang Pengelolaan Sampah. So we put together a team consisting of environmental lawyers, such as myself, from ICEL as well, the Indonesia Center for Environmental Law. We had Walhi and Greenpeace join our team as well. And we created this Friends of the Court brief, Amicus Curiae, that laid down the principles of why the governor's regulation of Bali was absolutely in line with higher laws. We showed them how actually banning single-use plastic is completely in line with what the law says is prevention methods. Even though the law doesn't specifically say ban, but it does say prevent. And prevent can be manifested in the form of a ban. So we submitted that. We had all kinds of NGOs in Bali. We collaborated with them as well to create petitions and support around this governor's regulation that was being attacked. It was super important for us to do this because this would create precedent. If they win, then all other cities in Indonesia would feel safe that they can ban plastic. But if they lose, then all the other cities in Indonesia would not have the confidence to go forward with their plans. So this was really our main battleground, and we fought really hard for this, and we won. Bali won the case, and today we have this precedent where the Supreme Court says that regional governments absolutely are allowed to ban plastic. The other thing that was a form of our support to regional governments was that we did have these mass gatherings. We did this Pawai Bebas Plastic event in 2019 in Bundaran HI to Monas, where we did a march from Bundaran HI to Monas, and it was attended by thousands of people, which was completely unexpected. We thought there would be about 500 people, but actually it turned out there were thousands. And we went there to say one thing. We went there to say we absolutely say no to plastic, single-use plastic, and we support Jakarta's plan to ban single-use plastic, because Jakarta at the time was planning on banning it. This was also a strategic move in the sense that we knew the process that Jakarta was going through. We were involved in that process. We knew the challenges that Jakarta was going through because there were voices saying, that Jakarta absolutely should not ban plastic bags. There were, industry lobbies that were trying to derail the process. And so we thought that, well, the government also needs to see that there are other voices apart from these industry lobbyists. There are the people's voices too, and the people's voices also matter when governments are considering what kind of policies to make. So this was a show of our force. This was a show of force from the people who demanded that single-use plastic be banned. And so that was history. Jakarta banned plastic on July 1st, becoming the 33rd city in Indonesia to do so. And it's been a long journey. It's been almost 8 years for us to get to this point. The work isn't finished yet. There's still other cities. I don't think Jogja has banned it yet. So we still have some homework and a lot of work ahead of us. Happy to discuss more, and looking forward to seeing some comments, if any, on the movie. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Tiza, for an insightful presentation about the Indonesia plastic bag diet movement. And we can see that the three milestones that we see now are the result of the efforts that you and the team put in. And the effort requires a long time and process, and involves a lot of parties with the strategy of social awareness, petition, create supporting ecosystems, and also support local government policies. So now I will ask you a few questions regarding the film that we just watched. Maybe first of all, I want to ask, can you tell us your perspective or personal view towards the film, The Story of Plastic?
Yeah. So when I watched it, I was also blown away because I didn't realize that how I did realize that I didn't realize how much the plastic industry was completely affected by the fossil fuel industry. And I work on climate change issues as well. And when we're talking about climate change, we always talk about the fossil fuel industry. I didn't realize up to this point that they were so connected, that the fossil fuel industry is actually trying to produce more plastic in order to stay in the game. And that if we want to have a world that is safe from global warming, and we want to have a world that's decarbonized, then we have to see not just fossil fuel, not just coal and gas and oil decrease, but we also need to see plastic decrease, because that is the byproduct of oil. they all need to decrease at the same time. At the moment, oil seems to be decreasing, but they're actually moving to plastic, and that's just a sneaky way around. That's what I think hit me the most about the movie.
Okay. Yeah, so in the movie, we can see many scenes that captured plastic bags damage to the environment. And also we can see that Tiza ride a boat in the Ciliwung River where it captures the riverbed are full of plastic. So maybe some of us here never had the opportunity to go to places that actually show us the sad reality. Can you explain to us maybe your story behind the film?
Yeah, we Plastic Bag Diet Movement had these events sometimes where we would take people on a trip to Ciliwung and take them on a 1 hour boat ride. And it's actually a beautiful little big river. It's actually a beautiful river. It has nature on the left and the right, even though it's in the middle of the city. But amidst all that beauty, there's all this trash, and it's absolutely heartbreaking, actually. So the first time I did it, it was for a campaign to raise people's awareness that their own backyard is this dirty, because Jakartans don't realize how dirty Ciliwung is, really. But then so I thought when the film crew came and said, can you take us to a place that really makes you sad about the situation? I had no doubt the place that I should take them to is Sungai Ciliwung. So that's how we ended up there.
Okay. So maybe you can tell us more what parts of the film that have you experienced in your job now. We can hear before from your presentation, you like advocating this issue to the government, to the society, or to the supermarket, and maybe you can tell us more about it.
Yeah, well, part of the movie, I think the part of the movie that shows what I do is showing more of the educational aspects, right? I'm teaching at a school and I'm explaining the harsh realities of the situation, and I'm explaining that most plastic doesn't get recycled. So that's one aspect of this ecosystem which we're trying to build, which is to raise awareness at every single level of society. The other aspect that the movie doesn't really get into is the advocacy aspect. And that's hard to film because what you're doing is you're basically working on a laptop, typing documents and presentations to the government, and drafting, regulations, drafting policy briefs. So that there's a lot of back and forth between us and regional governments and ministries as well. And the purpose of that is to make sure that the policies are the way that we want them to be. We don't want greenwashing policies. We don't want, for example, plastic bags to be banned but be replaced by another type of single-use item that is as bad as plastic. We want plastic bags to be replaced with reusable things. And so there was a lot of arguments around, should we ban it or should we charge it? Should we ban it and replace it with cassava bags, plastic singkong, or should we replace it with paper, or should we replace it with something else? And so we had to make sure that the outcome wouldn't give a worse environmental outcome than the baseline situation. So I think that's where most of work comes in, and that's why it took so long as well, because there were a lot of people, a lot of stakeholders that we had to consult and we had to invite into the discussion as well.
Okay, maybe I'm just curious, Mbak. Do you sit together with those stakeholders regularly, so that maybe every week you do like chit chat with the stakeholders, like you talk about this issue regularly to them? Maybe you can tell us.
Yeah. So yeah, regularly. It's part of my work. It's part of my professional work to schedule meetings on a regular basis so that this keeps moving forward. And especially when we were trying to push, a specific legislation, that has to be tight. We can't let it go, and then it becomes forgotten. We had to schedule meetings and discussions with not only a single party, but within the government, there's lots of offices that come into play, not just environment, but also industry, trade, law enforcement, communications, PR, and then law. And then outside of the government, you'd have to consult with industry players, you'd have to consult with the supermarkets, you'll have to consult with other NGOs. And then we also had to consult with like ibu-ibu PKK, the target demographic of this law was widely seen to be ibu-ibu emak-emak. And so we had to have a lot of these discussions with ibu-ibu emak-emak groups to show to the government that, they're actually on board with this, that they support this, they're ready to switch to this lifestyle where they bring reusable bags. That is a lot of work, and frankly, it was quite one of the most busiest times of my life. But it paid off, and I think what's important to know is that it's never going to be easy. It's always a marathon. Policy change is never a sprint, and you just have to get used to that idea from an early starting point.
Okay, thank you, Mbak. I heard that the situation that you work in, like it's very complicated. You have to sit with the stakeholders. At the same time, you have to distribute it to the community, and it is interesting that you used to work at the law firms and now you choose to be an activist. Maybe you can tell us why. What motivates you to be an activist?
Yeah, I used to work at a law firm. I worked there for a while, actually. I worked there for 6 years. This was in Makarim Taira. And I when at the time I left, I was a senior associate. So I was quite high up in the organization. And I quite simply wasn't feeling fulfilled in my work at the law firm. And there's a simple reason for that. And the reason is that when you're working at a law firm or when you're working as a legal consultant to a corporate law firm, then you have these corporate clients. And I had trouble with a lot of my corporate clients. I had trouble empathizing with my corporate clients. I simply did not care about their needs enough to want to give them the best service, and I was interested in environmental law from my undergraduate school, and from my graduate school, I studied environmental law. I told my bosses I want to do environmental law. They gave me these cases and clients that they thought would be related to environmental law, but then I ended up having to defend the questionable environmental practices of my corporate clients, and I couldn't square with that. So I left, and it took me a while to see an opening that would fit what I was passionate about. But because I set my mind to it, I finally found it, and I left. the farm, and I have not regretted it at all.
Okay, so back to the movie, we can see like the problem with the West is that they cannot solve this problem, so they ship their waste to the developing countries such as Indonesia. As someone who actively advocate this issue with the government, can you explain to us what's the solution?
Well, the solution, short term, is that we stop accepting garbage from other countries. And to a certain degree, that's been done. The government has made a position that they would not be accepting imported waste. But apparently on the field, it's a little bit complicated, because then what happens when the waste is already here at our harbor? Who checks it? How do you check it? And then how do you return it, and all of that? So the Plastic Bag Diet Movement is not the main organization that deals with the problem of imported waste. My colleague Prigi, who was in the movie as well, he's from Ekotan. He knows a lot more about it. Other colleagues from an organization called Nexus 3, based in Bali, also does a lot more work around imported waste. But the point is that we have to make a stand and say that if you can't deal with your trash as a developed country, as a first world industrial country, you can't deal with your trash, then what makes us think that we can deal with their trash? There are some parties in Indonesia who are absolutely supporting waste imports, because they say they need the raw material. The truth is they need a certain type of raw material, but it's not that plastic waste that's coming in. But they refuse to kind of, to deal with the complications around how the plastic that's coming in can't actually be recycled. And so we have to take a strong stance as a country to say, we're not going to be your dumping ground.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Tiza. Maybe you can explain to us more about the situation in the film, and can you give us like the expectation for the problems based on the film? What can we do now as a society, especially as a law student? Maybe what can we do to help this issue to be solved?
Yeah, so I think the good thing about the movie is that it provides us with a systematic viewpoint of the problem. And that is the best place to start when we're looking for a solution. We have to know what is the root causes and the systematic causes of the problem. I'm asked a lot of times, will banning solve anything? Is it going to be effective? And my answer is always, well, it's one aspect that needs to be solved. It's not every single aspect. The problem really is that plastic is being produced in a way that is unsustainable because it's being produced as a single-use disposable item. At the outset, when plastic was first invented, it's fine. It's a material that's strong and durable, made to last forever, right? It's great if you use it for a dashboard of a car. It's great if you use it for a hospital ventilator. It becomes not great when you use it for a single-use disposable straw that nobody really needs anyway. So how do we move from this culture that glorifies single-use disposable everything to a culture that comes back to our local wisdom, which is to reuse and refill, reuse and refill. And if anything needs to be disposable, anything at all needs to be disposable, then that disposable item needs to be made of compostable material. That's the principle. And the way we get there is up to all of us, right? There's multiple interventions throughout the supply chain, from the beginning where plastic is produced to refined, oil is produced to being refined, to being made into plastic pellets, to being made into plastic products and distributed and exported and consumed and disposed of. There are multiple interventions throughout the entire supply chain. The plastic bag diet movement chose to intervene at the point where retailers meet consumers. That was where we made that choice. That's why the bans are banning retailers from providing plastic to consumers. It doesn't ban the production, right? But that was our choice because it was a strategic choice that we made. But of course, there are other points where you could intervene. And as a law student, as somebody who has an understanding or will have an understanding of all the policies that are backing up this current system that is getting us into trouble, that's where you have to look first. Where is the most strategic intervention point that I can make a difference?
Okay, so I'd love to open it up for Q&A session in a few minutes. So this is a great opportunity for all the participants to dig into this issue. But before that, mungkin Mbak Tiza, I would love you to share some final thoughts that you have that you want to share with us.
Well, there are already some comments on the chat box, and I think that I can tailor my final thoughts to some of these comments. There was a comment on preference on plastic management by foreign countries that should be implemented in Indonesia. It's basically asking, is there a country that we should look to as a role model on waste management? So I think one of the key things that the movie shows us is that industrial countries, modern first world countries, are no better at waste management than we are. They seem to be better. They have cleaner streets, sure, they have better looking dustbins, right? Fine. But at the end of the day, a lot of their waste gets shipped here. That is a prime example of their failure in managing waste. If they have to export their waste, that means they have failed to manage their waste. So there really is no role model at the moment. And I'm encouraging people not to look at what is the swankiest new technology out there that can finish this problem in an instant. The answer is not in the newest technologies. The answer is in our local wisdom. We are perfectly capable of solving this issue by going back to a lifestyle that was better for the environment, and we can tailor it to the modern world. We have rantangan, yeah, that we can utilize again. And now a lot of restaurants are actually providing services where they fill your rantang with food to deliver. And we have now services where you can buy your coffee, cold brew, 1L, 1 liter, which is my favorite, in a glass bottle, have a deposit on it, take it back, get it refilled for the next week. I mean, these innovations are popping up. They're not, utilizing a cool new technology that was unheard of before. It has been done before, and it can be done again because that is our local wisdom. And we are very familiar with it. So there's a big chance that we can reincorporate those values into our daily lives again.
Okay, so now we're in Q&A session, and we have several questions here. First, from an anonymous. Comparatively speaking, which one do you think that most effective way to produce plastic use persuasive way through campaign and socialization, or repressive way such as sanction and rule?
Yeah, So that is an interesting question. And in my experience, there has to be a mixture of both, because we're talking about a policy that will require a change in behavior. And it works both ways. You can't have a change of behavior unless you have persuasiveness, right? But you also can't have a huge, massive change in behavior that hits 200 billion people at the same time, unless you have a policy. So we need to mix the two things, and that's why in my presentation I showed how while forces were at work pushing for a policy, forces were also at work pushing for persuasive campaigns and socialization. It has to be both.
Okay. For the second question, hello Mbak Tiza. I have a question. Many companies nowadays are pushing for recycling campaigns and products. I'm just wondering whether this is actually effective, or is this just a marketing move by the companies? What do you think, Mbak Tiza?
Yeah, it depends on the company. It depends on what their product is. Mostly, it's a marketing campaign because the amount of plastic that gets recycled is less than 10% of all plastic that's been produced. And the reason for that is not because of consumers. What I have a problem with most is that the companies are implying that through these marketing gimmicks that they're implying that it's the consumer's fault because we didn't recycle, right? But I would argue that it's very difficult to recycle. They're not making it easy to recycle. How are we supposed to recycle a sachet, for example, right? Or how are we supposed to know that if we drink a glass, plastic glass, can't name brands. If we drink a glass plastic, air minum dalam kemasan plastik, we're supposed to separate that glass into 4 different components. How are we supposed to know that? Because the body of the glass and the top of the glass, the lid, is made of a different plastic material. They cannot be recycled together. The lid cannot be recycled. And then the straw that comes with the glass, and then the straw wrapping is made of other different materials, and they cannot be recycled together. So in effect, only the body can be recycled, and then the lid can't be, the straw can't be, the covering of the straw can't be. How exactly are we supposed to recycle that, right? So they can market all they want about recycling, but unless they redesign their products, then it won't happen. And unless they actually create a market where they receive back their waste and they recycle it, and they turn it into glasses that are made of their own recycled material, then it won't happen. Because they're pushing the responsibility of recycling to somebody else. And there's no market for it. They're not creating this market where recyclables are valuable. So I would say, yeah, it's a marketing gimmick.
Okay, thank you, Mbak. Next, we have some thoughts about your movie here. First, from Febri, he said, this movie is very good and educational. Aspects of reality are very real, which means the world must open its eyes to the reality that is described in this movie, because plastic is a very dangerous monster, because many types of plastics cannot be destroyed by the recycling process. The world should be more able to see the reality lifted by this movie and stop using plastic. So yeah, that's thoughts from Febri, and move on to the next question we have from another anonymous attendee. Tiza, do you think it's possible to completely get rid of all the plastic in the world in around 20 until 50 years? What is so hard in making biodegradable plastic? Does it cost more or does it take a longer time to make?
Yeah. We don't have to get rid of all plastic. We do have to get rid of single-use plastic. So I think it's possible to get rid of single-use plastic in the world, especially in the time frame that you say it's 50 years is quite long. I would say that it's actually possible sooner. But we do have to be hard and fast to demand industries to move to reusables and refillables as a business model, as the main business model. And that also means that we have shorter supply chains. I support businesses like Ranah Bumi, who's featured in your video, a local store with local products, and the products that came there didn't come from far away, so less emissions. And because they didn't come from far away, they didn't have to be wrapped in a material that is unsustainable. It didn't have to be wrapped in plastic because it didn't need to be shipped that far. I support that we go back to these, or not go back, but we support more of these products, these business models, because that will also create kind of a security for us, resilience for us, that isn't depending on imported products. And what was the other question? Okay, I hope that answers the question.
Okay, thank you, Mbak. And the next question, another question from Anonymous. Good evening, Ms. Tiza. I'm curious on your point of view. Did you focus on reducing or recycling the litters, especially plastic? And which one is the most compatible with our country and why?
Yeah, I'll answer that. I just remembered that the other question also had a question on biodegradable plastic. So I'll answer that first. And in the movie, you see this person who's working on biodegradable plastics made from mango peel, I think. And she talks about how plastics are, that there's now, a race to create bio-based plastics, which means that the plastic is made from not fossil fuel, but an organic material like cassava or mango or palm oil, and things like that. And she says very clearly in the movie, bio-based does not mean biodegradable. Bio-based just means that it's made not from fossil fuel, but the polymers created and the plastic product that's a result of that creation does not biodegrade in the natural environment. Okay, so that's why we have to be careful with these labels of plastik terbuat dari singkong, plastik nabati, we have to be careful with these labels because they don't necessarily mean that they're biodegradable. There are ways to make bio-based and biodegradable plastics, but this is still an ongoing experimentation. There are still massive debates around whether it truly is biodegradable or not. And I think that there's some way to go before we can truly say that's a solution. Okay. And so on the other question on whether we focused on reducing or recycling, yeah, we focused on reducing. Absolutely. We were focused on reduction because quite simply, not all plastics can be recycled. There are only a few types of plastics that can be recycled, and those are usually the better ones, the sturdy, thick, clear ones, the expensive ones. Plastic bottles are quite recyclable, but their labels are not recyclable. So when we launched our campaign, we specifically focused on those problematic plastics that nobody would recycle. And that includes plastic bags. That's the number one also includes straws and sachets and styrofoams, and a number of other things. Yep, done.
Okay, thank you, Mbak. And for the last question, we have another anonymous attendee ask, regarding the new regulation, where do you have to pay more for plastic? Do you think it's effective? Has it made major changes in the environment?
So I'm not sure which regulation this is. So most of the city regulations that have been enacted is to ban plastic bags, not to pay more for them. But I suppose if you're in Jogja, there's no ban, and then that would mean that what applies to you is the plastic bag charge. Is it right? Yeah. So the plastic charge is not because of a regulation. It is because Aprindo, the Association for Retailers, decided to cave in somewhat to our campaigns and to pressure from governments. And they decided to voluntarily enact a charge on plastic bags. And this happened in 2019. So it's not a law. It is a voluntary initiative from the businesses. And as soon as that happened, I told them, see, you can do it voluntarily. What took you so long? What took you 6 years to do this? You could have done this 6 years ago. But it just goes to show that public pressure is quite effective in making businesses change their ways. Has it made major changes in the environment? Well, there has been a reduction in the use of plastic bags, definitely. Back in 2016, the reduction was about 55%. And in 2019, when we last did our survey, the reduction was about 30%. And it differs, depending on the country, the city that you're in, but it's around that number.
Okay, so we have another thoughts about the film by Farah here. She said, "Best documentary I have ever seen. This movie made me realize that plastic pollution is the most pressing environmental issue nowadays. The part that I like the most in this film is when someone said that if we want to buy food, we intend to buy the food, not the plastic packaging. That really hit me. Moreover, this movie has changed my mindset and lifestyle to take care about the environment and not to buy single-use plastics." Thank you, Mbak Tiza.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so maybe we wait for another questions from the attendees. Maybe from the participants in YouTube and Zoom can ask to Mbak Tiza, as we have 4 minutes left for this Q&A session. Is there any question? Okay, so I think there's no any questions regarding the film, and so before we end this discussion today, I will conclude a bit about this discussion. We see that Mbak Tiza and her team from the GDIP, GDIKP, did a lot of efforts to actually achieve these milestones, that we can actually see that Indonesia is now have many policies regarding the plastic bag issues. And so with the answer to the last question, It remarks the end of this movie session. Thank you, Mbak Tiza, for this insightful discussion that we have. Good luck and Godspeed for your great work for Indonesia and also the world. And for the participants, remember that every movement starts with simple things, but have faith and it will have a significant impact for this planet. Hopefully this movie session is impactful for all the participants, and as the moderator, I apologize if there are any speech errors during this session. Thank you all, and I return this session to the MC.
Thank you so much, Anabel, and thank you, everyone. Great having been given the opportunity to speak today.
While the discussion session has ended, we would like to thank Anabel, who has led our discussion today, and of course to our amazing speaker, Mbak Tiza Mafira, that has given us a lot of new insight. As a token of our appreciation, we would like to symbolically hand over placards and certificates to our moderator and speaker. For the first certificate and placard, we would like to give it to Mbak Tiza. The placard and certificate will be handed over by the director of ALSA L.M, Kak Gaudi Demisha Everdi.
Okay, hello, am I audible?
Yes, Kak Gaudi.
Okay, so thank you so much, Mbak, for attending our event and give us clarity on what has been going on around us. And we also would like to thank you for what you have been doing, and may all of us continue in helping the place that we live in into a better place by doing what you have been doing. And I hope this placard can serve as a token of gratitude, and I hope that ALSA and Mbak Tiza can also do collaborative work in the future as well. Thank you so much, Mbak.
Thank you so much. It's a very nice certificate.
Okay, thank you to Mbak Tiza and Kak Gaudi. We would like to invite you to reactivate your cameras because we will take a picture and it will be guided by the documentation committee.
Okay, I'll take over for a while, strike a pose, and I'll start the countdown. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. One more. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay.
Thank you so much, Mbak.
Thank you. Okay. I can leave now?
Okay, thank you, Mbak Tiza Mafira.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
And Kak Gaudi to Kak Anabel, which will be handed over by Kak Gaudi.
Okay, thank you, Faiko, for the opportunity. So again, Abel, thank you for all of your contributions, not only on this event, but also the events that we have been through. But I hope that this placard can serve as a memory and on what you have been doing. And I think this is an outstanding achievement as well to be able to moderate a certain event for a great cause. And I hope you would continue to be around and learn with us in the future. So thank you, Abel.
Thank you, Kak Gaudi. Thank you for the comments also.
Okay, to Kak Anabel and Kak Gaudi, we would like to invite you to reactivate your cameras because we will take a picture and it will be guided by the documentation committee.
Okay, I'll take over again and I'll start the countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. One more. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay.
Thank you, Abel.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kak Anabel and Kak Gaudi. Our next session is whole documentation. To all the committee, moderator, and speaker, we would like to invite you all again to turn on your cameras because we will take a documentation that will be guided by the documentation committee.
Okay, please all turn on your cameras. I will start the countdown again. Please turn on the cameras. Okay, yes. Everyone please turn on the cameras. Okay, we'll just start the countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. One more. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Abi. Well, then, we have now arrived at the end of our event. Thank you to all of the participants who have joined in our discussion today. I would like to remind you all to the participant in the Zoom meeting are required to fill the attendance form that will be sent at the end of the meeting as our data to send e-certificate and PowerPoint materials that will be sent by the PR committee. Me, Faiko and Nabila, as the master of ceremony, apologize from my deepest heart if there were any mistakes. Thank you so much for your kind attention. Stay safe and healthy, everyone. Wassalamualaikum, shalom, Om Santi 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 Om, Namo Buddhaya. Align for excellence, ALSA, always be one. Thank you.
Thank you all for attending these discussions, and for you who has registered for the next agendas for tomorrow. Don't forget to come, and it will be informed further with the group of WhatsApp. Okay, so maybe there's some technical errors for attendance form, and it already handled by the PR. Maybe you guys who face the problem with the form can refresh the form and refill it.